Hey guys, tonight we find ourselves standing on the edge of history, stepping into a fog-enshrouded world filled with the whispers of past ages. As you set foot on this mist-filled port, where the cries of gulls mingle with the smoky scent of tar floating in the air, there's a strange anticipation in the air. The sailors exchange worried glances, their murmurings echoing the unsettling words of an impending pestilence. It's the kind of adventure where you probably won't survive this, or at least you'd be wise to stay alert, because the stories circulating suggest a mortality rate that might reach 50%. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to hear where you're listening from, so comment where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As you walk down the creaking gangplank, the world around you seems to hold its breath, waiting for the story to unfold. You can almost feel the centuries-old stones beneath your feet, whispering tales of travelers and traders from times gone by. The Mediterranean sea breeze tugs playfully at your clothing, a reminder of both the beauty and unpredictability of the world you are entering. The clamor of the port is a symphony of sounds, with traders bartering goods in myriad languages, and the occasional burst of laughter breaking through the murmur like sunlight through clouds. Yet amidst this lively scene, there's an underlying tension, a sharp edge to the conversations you overhear. The words pestilence and fever linger uneasily in the air, like an unwelcome guest that refuses to leave. Sailors weathered and tanned by incessant journeys swap tales of a mysterious illness sweeping through lands, sparing few in its merciless path. You can't help but be reminded of the plague, that feared and ancient force, which, as some revealingly suggest, could yet again grip this corner of the world. Historians still debate whether the methods used to control such outbreaks were effective or merely desperate measures born out of fear. As you venture further into the bustling marketplace, your senses are overwhelmed by the vibrant colors of spices piled high in conical mounds, the pungent aroma of salted fish, and the sweet promise of ripe fruit. Still, there's an ominous shadow lurking at the edge of this vivid tapestry, a shadow you sense but cannot see. A merchant with a thick beard and knowing eyes catches your gaze, nodding knowingly, as if to share some unspoken truth. He recounts with a mixture of awe and fear a peculiar tale of a distant city where citizens, believing they could ward off the illness, have taken to keeping sweet-smelling herbs in their pockets. A curious attempt at preserving health amidst chaos. Moving along, you notice how the community here has adapted to the precarious circumstances. Surprising rituals have emerged, and unusual practices woven into the fabric of daily life. One local craftsman tells you about the bizarre belief that cats thought to carry divine luck were good omens. A surprising perspective, given their often superstitious roles in history. Despite the eerie stories and the creeping anxiety, there's a strange sense of calm that comes from knowing you are merely a visitor in this echo of the past, a place removed from time where stories unravel like silk threads in the gentle evening wind. Taking a deep breath, you let the scents of the sea and the mysterious blend of aromas ground you in this peculiar moment. The murmur of the crowd gradually softens, aligning naturally with the lulling rhythm of waves lapping against the pier, a hypnotic reminder of the passage of time and tides. You pause to watch the sun begin its descent, casting long golden fingers across the cobblestones and highlighting the intricate dance of life as it weaves its way through the narrow streets. In this enclave of history, you find yourself pondering the fragility of the human experience and the resilience of those who live through such uncertain times. There's a quiet beauty in this chaotic world, an echo of a dance that survived through centuries, reminding you that while lives and stories end, the heartbeat of the human spirit remains unyielding. With every step deeper into this historical chapter, the allure of its mysteries beckons, urging you to continue to listen and to understand. So you carry on, drawn ever further into the narrative unfolding before you, where every shadow holds the promise of another story waiting to be told, and the night, calm and cool, wraps around you like a gentle cloak, inviting you to savor each moment in this long line of tales, where history and the present intertwine seamlessly in the Mediterranean dusk. Uneven stones beneath your feet form a patchwork quilt of cobblestone, a testament to the town's history and modern challenges alike. Your senses are immediately assaulted by the pungent smell of fish guts mingling with the sickly sweet scent of rotting hemp remnants of a bustling market now eerily still. As you take slow, deliberate steps down the narrow street, your attention is drawn to a shopkeeper doubled over in distress, struggling to remain upright against the weight of his concern. Around you, town criers, gold filigree-clad staffs, and bellow commands that ripple through the air like waves, instructing the townsfolk to retreat back into their homes and bar their doors. It's a scene of organized chaos as some hesitate confusion, knitting their brows as they lock their eyes upon each other, whispering old wives' tales and wild rumors they overheard at the market stalls. A debate is already forming just beneath the surface of these interactions on how swiftly this unseen threat has infiltrated their lives. Historians will later argue about this very moment, pondering over how aware people were of the contagion during these first tremulous hours. Did they understand the gravity of it all? Or did they dismiss it, thinking of it as an ailment that would pass as quickly as it had come? What stands indisputable yet strangely under-discussed is the fact that some communities had a habit of chewing garlic, believing it warded off more than just vampires. As you continue your measured pace along this cobblestone artery, the doors flanking you slam shut with finality, a simple gesture that holds an ancient instinctive urgency. Within those homes, families gather around wooden tables, whispering prayers and seeking comfort in the familiarity of their own walls. Outside, however, the bustling life of the market now yields to an unsettling serenity, where only the distant toll of the church bell punctuates the quiet. The knowledge of contagion has danced through history with the grace of a specter, sometimes identified too late, sometimes exaggerated to uncontainable proportions. Here, though, in this very town, one cannot help but marvel at the delicate balance between alarm and denial. The stench of fish and hemp lingers in the air like ghosts of recent commerce, stark reminders of the normalcy that existed mere moments ago. Your mind wanders back to thoughts of ancient remedies and the quirky rituals people turned to in troubled times. Perhaps you recall an anecdote shared in a dim-lit tavern about physicians wearing peculiar beaked masks filled with aromatic herbs to shield themselves from disease. This curious idea remains vivid because it seems odd enough to be fiction, yet tantalizingly possible, a surreal blend of apothecary and theater. As you find yourself nearing the edge of town, the sounds around you grow more subdued. The rush of whispers, the echo of the criers' voices, even the footfalls on the cobblestones below everything is wrapped in a layer of oppressive quiet. For centuries, towns like these have stood stalwart against time and plague, against the rise and fall of empires. Yet even they, like us, found solace in shutting out the world under a roof shared with loved ones, in waiting out the unknown with as much patience as each moment commands. There's a certain familiarity to the fear oozing through those shuttered windows, a sensation passed down through generations as stories are retold and histories are rewritten. Even now, historians analyze events, attempting to decipher which town took which precautions, which townsfolk were wise, and which were reckless. Still, few notes mention that bread was once spread with onion and honey to battle contagion more effectively, an idea half practical, half fanciful. You tread on past lampposts extinguished for now, in acknowledgement of darkness creeping in. Fairy tales often forget to mention how in such times the simplest kind words can stir a flood of relief, like the story of a local herbalist whose soothing voice was said to be as potent as any potion she prepared. Each step further ensnares you in these woven mysteries of history, a complex tapestry where threads of record and lore intertwine. Pausing at the far end of town, you peer into the vast countryside, feeling the expanse of unknown wrap you in its entirety. Fields stretching beyond quiet under the watchful gaze of the setting sun hold their own secrets, grains and herbs that might one day form the pillars of yet another remedy. It's a moment suspended in time where you stand, body and thoughts alike, enveloped by the stories of what came before and what could be. The world feels both infinite and contained in this fleeting peace, as though the cobblestones weep for the weight of history they bear. You breathe deep, letting the cool air soothe your senses, and turn back the way you came, tracing footsteps through the library of history you've wandered. With each step descending into dusk, you wonder about tomorrow, how the pages of this moment will be penned by those who follow what scholars will find worth noting in their vast annals. Some may find truth in our quirks, like humors in mustard plasters, or the meditative repetition of trusting in history's narrative, and find not only knowledge, but the calm comfort of storytelling, a lullaby sung by time itself. In the quiet gray of dawn, just as your eyes start to flutter open You find yourself standing on a cobblestone street. All around you, the gentle clatter of hooves and the rhythmic creak of wooden carts form a sleepy morning orchestra. Families cloaked in layers against the early chill bustle along the winding paths leading away from the city. They're trading the cramped, bustling streets for the open arms of countryside villas, seeking the sweet, clean air that whispers among the trees. Imagine a young girl holding tightly to her mother's hand, her boots scuffing against the stones, her eyes wide and excited. Or a father balancing precariously atop a cart, casting a quick glance back at the city before urging the horse forward. There's a sense of urgency here, perhaps, born out of nothing more than the promise of freedom, or giggling rumors carried on the wind about pestilence and plague. Yet not everyone feels this burgeoning joie de vivre. The city has its rules and its control. Some are bound by laws that tether them tighter than they'd like. In the shadows of the city council rooms, lofty decisions are engraved in stern inked proclamations. Hefty fines await those who abandon their duties, leaving posts vacant like echoes of forgotten oaths. There's a certain chewiness to these rules, like an apple that's been left too long. Surprising given that not so long ago, abandonment of duty might have been more virtue than vice, depending on who you asked. Historians still debate whether these drastic actions were a result of genuine concern for order or simply a grip, tightening desperately on control. Either way, it's a vivid display of the city's heartbeat, striving to maintain a steady rhythm, even as some of its lifeblood flows out towards rows of olive trees and sun-dappled vineyards. And as you walk, watching these scenes unfold, there's a soft, unspoken understanding shared amongst those who travel into the countryside here. In this exodus lies an unburdening, a search not only for lungs full of fresh air, but perhaps a clearing of the mind as well. The age-old enemies of isolation and hardship lurk behind, yet upon the horizon shimmer possibilities that ignite even the most weary of hearts. A moment catches you drawing to the lighter side of irony. A young man balances absurdly more bags than he can manage in one arm hair, slightly askew from the morning's brisk breeze while trying to wave jovially at someone calling his name. It's a reminder that amidst the somber duties and fines and fears, life carries its own kaleidoscope of light-hearted absurdities, like the unpredictability of what a cow might do if left unsupervised with a brand new patch of carrot tops. You walk with them caught in the midst of history, breathing in and out, encased in a serene film with vivid edges. Whether they whisper about boiled onions as an old-world remedy, or share a tale of a grandmother who swore by picking verbs off the verbena for good fortune, you are part of their narrative, now swapping senses between their realities and the echoes of the city bidding its halting fare. Thee wells under the misty skies. In the quiet, mysterious embrace of the Venetian lagoon, you find yourself surrounded by a landscape as much a painting as it is part of the old world. The sun is a mosaic of gold, weaving through delicate mist that hovers over glistening water. As you float gently, the only sound is the soft lapping of waves against the wood of your small vessel, a soothing melody that sets your mind at ease. You notice up ahead, perched prominently on stilted towers along the edge of the lagoon, several guards are raising crimson flags. These flags flutter lightly against the backdrop of azure skies, a warning to all who dare approach. Their motion seems almost lazy in the languid air, yet they carry a message as ancient as the shipping lanes themselves. Quarantine. You learn, perhaps with a soft chuckle at the arcane reasoning behind it, that the term quarantine, which you hear often nowadays, hails from the Venetian practice termed 40 giorni, meaning 40 days. In a time when the sea brought both trade and treachery ships arriving from afar, were held at bay for 40 days of buffer against the unseen perils of foreign disease. In the 14th century, this practice was less a science and more a grasping at hope, an edict woven from fearful whispers rather than empirical certainty. It's intriguing to think how 40 giorni formed. Historians still debate whether it stemmed from religious symbolism or, perhaps, a misguided yet prophetic guess at the incubation periods involved. Either way, these 40 days became legend, a protective mote of time that sought to keep Venice safe from invisible invaders. As you ponder these things, a distant cry resonates across the spacious peace, the plaintive call of gulls slicing through the serenity. They swoop lazily in the sky, painting arcs with their wings, perhaps, looking down with bemusement at humans who fret over matters of passage and contagion. Your reflection leads you to a surprising detail. Ships weren't just quarantined on a whim. The Doge's officials maintained detailed logs of each vessel, noting cargo origin and crew count. Every ship was a floating microcosm, each journey a storyline waiting to unfold. This meticulous bookkeeping sometimes painted stranger-than-fiction tales, like a ship arriving from Alexandria rife, with spices and silks, alongside trapped uninvited visitors that spelled doom for unsuspecting sailors. Yet here you are, comfortably distanced from these historical specters, breathing in the salty tang of the sea air. It's easy to envision the bustle of the merchants, the earnest chatter in marketplaces, and the clandestine meetings amongst robed figures who debated the fairness and necessity of enforced isolation. Your mind drifts back to the guards and their watchful duty, their figures dipped in the colors of sunset, half warriors, half monks in their solemnity. They, too, must have occasionally questioned their role in this grand dance of defense, speculation, and survival. Slowly, the scene around you softens, the light fades, the air cools, and you let yourself slip further into the gentle rhythm of the lagoon. With each undulating wave, you feel a little more at ease, a little more distant from the clang and clamor of hurried thoughts. The story of Venetian vigilance becomes a gentle nautical lullaby amid a backdrop of history that sways like shimmering stars born by the sea. As your journey continues, the echoes of 40 giorni fade gently into the night, whispering to the rivers of your curiosity and inviting you to explore the unexpected depths of our past's stories. You step into the dimly lit world of the apothecary's shop, your senses immediately bombarded by a melange of aromas, both familiar and exotic. Cloves, sharp and spicy rosemary, with its slightly piney freshness, and the sweetly fragrant crushed rose petals, all stuffed into the intricately crafted pomanders that hang from the beams above. You can almost feel the meticulous care that went into the crafting of these little spheres, designed more to assuage fears than cure ailments. The room is lined with wooden shelves, wax-sealed jars, and glass bottles, each marked with labels faded by time. As you wander through this space, echoes of whispered secrets from the past fill your mind. The apothecary was once a cornerstone of medieval life, where natural elements were each believed to hold profound properties. Cloves were thought to numb toothaches, rosemary to soothe the soul, and rose petals a fragrant shield against diseases. You suddenly remember, with a shiver, that in those days, absence of disease was a game of luck. You probably wouldn't survive this medieval past with modern comforts thousands of miles away. Against one wall, a fire burns with a quiet crackle, where over a low flame, branches of juniper are delicately placed atop glowing coals. This was the surgeon's realm, where they long believed in the purifying smoke as a defense against the unseen. The weighty scent of juniper smoke fills the air with its ancient assurance and invisible armor for those poor souls placed under the knife. Historians still debate the real efficacy of such practices. Was it the chemistry of these plants interacting subtly yet effectively with pathogens, or merely the comforting ritual, the placebo effect of an era without antibiotics? Some claim that the heady smoke had antioxidant properties, while others argue it was nothing more than an ancient form of air freshening, just like the goat fat trick you remember from before the truth remains shrouded in the mists of time. Yet in this moment, surrounded by these tactile reminders of the past, you feel yourself transported. Imagine the apothecary's gentle guidance, prescribing a concoction with a steady hand, infusing calm into the panic-stricken minds of their visitors. The voices of concerned mothers, the impatience of fevered children, the skepticism of weary fathers echo in your thoughts, blending into a symphony of trust, hope, and desperation. You touch a pomander gently, its spices and petals, whispering 1,000 unspoken stories against your fingertips. Each one is a relic of hope, encapsulated in fragrant form, a token meant to ward away evil as much as illness. Can you dream of what it was like back then, when an apothecary's shop was the epicenter of healing, and these small charms an assurance against chaos? The room breathes softly around you. Each jar, each bottle, each ingredient holds history within its silent depths. Perhaps in the quiet assurance of such places, you find a primitive comfort, one that transcends logic and speaks directly to your need for peace, mirrored in how you try to find solace in simple things today. As the aromas continue to enfold you, the cares of the 21st century fade gently into the background. Reflecting on these practices, you wonder how many were born from science, and how many from the simple act of trying to make sense of a world fraught with unknowns, misconceptions, and myths wrapped tightly around kernels of truth, much like the potent pomanders themselves. In this twilight haze of old-world wisdom and fragrant mystery, you withdraw from the apothecary's embrace, carrying with you the lingering, soothing charm of rose and spice, ready to guide you gently into a deeper journey of yesteryears. The room is dimly lit, an assortment of candles flickering softly, creating gentle patterns against the rustic stone walls. You step inside, and immediately the coppery smell hits you, lingering in the thick air. This is a place where the ancient art of medicine gets as tangible as the cold touch of a physician's tools. The metallic scent is unmistakable, a reminder of practices that, in their quest to heal, often leave one feeling decidedly frailer. In this candlelit chamber, the doctors bustle with a steady, practiced rhythm. Their white robes flutter softly, akin to specters weaving through the quiet space. You're here in the heart of a time long past, when the wisdom of the Greek physician Galen reigned supreme. He believed health arose from the harmonious balance of bodily humors: blood phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Imagine balancing precariously on a seesaw, every tip and tilt promising a different kind of wellness or distress. Tonight you're visiting a world where illness becomes an imbalance to correct, like an artist adjusting the colors on a palette. With steady hands, the physicians set about their task, whispering softly among themselves about the dangers of excess blood, that vital liquid viewed with such mixed reverence. You watch entranced and slightly on edge, aware that their methods, bloodletting in particular, often weaken the patients into ghostly versions of their former selves. The patient before you reclines on a wooden slab, eyes half shut. Their trust in these healers is both comforting and disconcerting. Physicians begin their ritual using instruments that hiss softly, releasing the slow and measured drip of blood. They murmur encouragements to the weary soul, much like one might coax a child to sleep, suggesting a kind of paradoxical hope in an unsettling process. Historical accounts often remark on the dizzying relief that many reported feeling afterward, though some argue this theory, wondering if perhaps the relief was more from the end of the ordeal than the loss of fluids. As the flames continue their dance, casting long shadows, you note an unusual detail: a small basin placed delicately on a nearby table, filled not just with crimson liquid, but carefully curated herbs. These are believed to help restore balance, acting as a remedy for lingering malaise. An aromatic mix of rosemary and lavender hangs in the air, fighting back the metallic scent, offering a strangely calming effect in tandem with the flickering light. Historians still debate whether these treatments were more harmful than helpful, whether the patients truly believed or merely hoped. Regardless of the theories in this serene chaos, trust trumps all. The air buzzes with an eerie kind of hopefulness, an age-old human trait that persists in seeking solace, even in the strangest of remedies. As you let that thought settle, you find yourself wrapped in the warmth and mystery of this ancient world. It's calming yet unsettling, an era where the simple burn of a candle or the hum of whispered reassurances could mean the difference between life and its shadow. So you allow yourself the luxury of letting your mind wander to imagine the conviction held by those in white robes, flickering like the lights around you. And amidst the haze and humors, you find yourself lulled into a mellow reflection, a strange tranquility here in the candlelit confines. The procession moves slowly through the dimly lit streets, white-robed penitents, walking in rhythmic unison. Their chants weave through the cool night air, rising and falling like the breaths of a sleeping giant. You watch, captivated by the hypnotic hum of their hymn, each word a ritual that seems both ancient and timeless. As the whips crack against their backs, there's a striking contrast between devotion and penitence that draws you in. It's an act of faith, mingled with a touch of medieval masochism, a curious sight in these times. You wonder if you could endure such a test of resilience. You probably won't survive this, you'd think with a smirk, but there's a certain allure to the display. Historians often describe these processions as acts of extreme piety during times of crisis, when people sought divine intervention through physical sacrifice. Some say these acts were more about spectacle than true suffering, an unusual perspective that leaves you pondering their intentions. Thunder rumbles overhead like a celestial response to the grounded drama, deepening the mood and adding a layer of urgency to their pleas. The penitents seem unfazed by the looming storm, as if their faith alone serves as an impermeable shield against the elements. Amongst the watchers, there's mixed sentiment. Some are moved by the display, others appear skeptical. The air is thick with unspoken opinions, judgment, and the inevitable human curiosity that threads through every crowd. You feel a tug at your imagination, bringing thoughts as vivid as a painter's palette spilling onto a blank canvas. What drives these individuals to such extremes? There's an undercurrent of conflict within the church hierarchy itself, with bishops divided on how to respond to this rising phenomenon. Some support it as a demonstration of devout piety, revering the willingness to bear pain as a demonstration of spiritual fortitude. Others frown upon it, seeing it as a misguided and dangerous path that deviates from sanctioned doctrine. In fact, certain bishops have gone so far as to outright ban the movement, their stern edicts casting shadows over the flickering candlelit processions. But human nature is nothing if not rebellious. Even with prohibitions in place, these gatherings continue in secrecy, hidden in the folds of twilight veiled by the promise of redemption. The scene holds a touch of theatricality, the wide-eyed penitents casting furtive glances over their shoulders, aware that their actions walked a line between faith and heresy. Against the backdrop of historical uncertainty, the meanings behind their rituals deepen. Some accounts suggest these processions arose as a visceral reaction to societal chaos, a way to reclaim control through acts of self-imposed penitence. But whether their motivations were purely holy or laced with an element of rebellion remains a point of debate among scholars. Watching them disappears into the cobblestone alleys, a sense of timelessness washes over you, as if history itself folds around you like a thick, warm blanket. The air is filled with whispers of another world calling from beneath layers of time, and you are caught in its gentle grasp, free to wander in thought. As the night settles and the storm begins its symphony, you feel the weight of the day slowly unfurling from your shoulders. There's comfort in the rhythmic drum of rain, each drop a solitary note in nature's lullaby. It's fascinating how something that was once fearsome can transform into a calming presence, much like the journey of those white-robed figures from chaos to calm, all within the span of a single evening. The soothing patter mixes with the remnants of hymn chants etched in memory, a soft chorus to ease you into a slower pace. The story lets itself flow gently, each word a single grain in an hourglass, measuring time not by numbers, but by feelings. Here beneath this canopy of historical curiosities and the soft glow of speculation, you find your own cadence moving with the steady assurance that the night holds you softly in its embrace. The procession's echoes linger their spectral line, disappearing into the horizon of sleep, a bridge leading gently from the tangible world to the serene fields of dreams. Here there is warmth and rest, the promise of dawn awaiting just beyond the veil you will soon traverse. The chill of night settles in as you wander through the dimly lit streets, the ancient stone walls of Siena surrounding you. The sound of an iron lock clinking shut rings out, echoing down the cobblestones. An alehouse nearby closes its heavy wooden doors, the patrons long gone, leaving only the ghostly clatter of empty barrels rolling aimlessly inside. You find yourself stepping back in time, where the vibrancy and life of medieval European towns suddenly feel subdued. Recorded ordinances from both Siena and Paris float through your mind, providing an intriguing reminder of how the past often mirrors the present. These edicts, you realize, illustrate a form of what we now refer to as social distancing. Picture yourself wandering these streets during the late 14th century, when similar measures were adopted amidst the fear of spreading the bubonic plague. The air was thick with uncertainty, and a palpable anxiety lingered just as it does when a thunderstorm hesitates at the edge of the horizon. In a time when scientists were still centuries away from understanding germ theory, city officials took creative and often desperate steps to curb the devastation. Imagine the clamor in the bustling market stalls now quieted as people stayed indoors. Bakers accustomed to crowds lining up for their morning loaves found fewer takers. The aroma of fresh bread, a comforting sign of normalcy, wafted alone through empty squares. An unusual section of one ordinance you recall dictates that all the pigs found wandering the streets shall be dealt with accordingly. You chuckle at the thought of such a proclamation today. This choice to control not only human interaction, but also animal movement, adds an almost whimsical detail to the severity of the time. Historians still debate whether these measures truly help to contain the disease. Some argue about the effectiveness of closing taverns and shutting down marketplaces, pondering whether it spared a few from the grips of the Black Death, while others suggest it might have merely slowed the tide. However, in the quietness of the streets, you feel the weight of the city's attempt to hold on to hope. As you continue your gentle stroll down the lantern-lit path, you imagine what might have been once unnoticed, sights the sweeping cloak of a city watchman, patrolling the perimeter, keeping an eye out for any disturbances in these newly tranquil, nocturnal landscapes. The flickering lights from a few second-story windows are the only signs of life. Families whisper behind closed shutters, telling stories to distract themselves from the specter lurking just beyond their doors. And perhaps, just perhaps, these tales offer comfort in their small and precious realities, much like the stories shared on this soothing bedtime journey of yours. The silence is profound, interrupted only by the occasional bark of a distant dog or the soft fluttering of a bird disturbed in the night. Yet you find the solitude ironically rather companionable. In the past as well as today, such moments remind us of our shared experiences and the ways human resilience finds expression in unexpected places. You can almost hear the quiet hum of a city trying to sleep, sewing threads of continuity through the ever-present fabric of time. These ordinances may have seemed harsh and restrictive, but beneath them lay a deep shared desire for a future, a tomorrow that, despite the odds, meant life would find its way back into these stone corridors. With this thought, a deep breath fills your lungs, grounding you in this historical evening where the heartbeats of the past echo within your own. As you drift further into the night, the story seamlessly carries you toward a peaceful slumber, ever entwined with the cadence of history itself. As you watch, you can't help but ponder the fairness of it all, doomed laundry and hapless creatures meeting fiery ends while the true culprit remains unseen. You're drawn in by a stark reality check that tickles the back of your mind. Had you been there for real, you probably wouldn't survive this. But that's the enchanting danger of history, isn't it? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, why not post your location and local time? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The fire crackles, and boys dart around, poking sticks into the red-hot embers, ensuring that the evidence of their fears is reduced to nothing but ash. These bonfires' grim communal rituals signal the villagers' attempts to purge their world of what they can see: the rats, the tainted clothes, and even stray cats and dogs that have, for reasons lost to an unfair stigma, been accused as agents of disease. In the soft orange glow of the flames, you can almost hear whispers of conversations about the plague, or as it's known by those who shudder with its name on their tongues, the Black Death. Historians still debate whether medieval perspectives were entirely without merit, as visible vermin, like rats, did play a role, inadvertently hosting the fleas that carried Yersinia pestis, the real bacterium at the heart of the devastation. It's a nuance lost in the crackle and blaze of fears given form, the specter of death conjured from what villagers could see. Ironically, you're aware that fleas, tiny, almost invisible, slip under the radar. But invisible they are not to the keen insights of modern DNA analysis, capable of pointing to them as the unwitting bearers of this harrowing gift. A woman, her face etched with the lines of worry and weariness, offers a prayer to the great beyond, hoping that it might guard her family. Some older kids play make-believe, holding ragged strips of cloth over their faces, pretending to be medicinal professionals, warding off the sickness. They mimic the herbalists and their masks, stuffed with aromatic herbs, remnants of the remembered scents intended to guard against the miasmas believed to spread the affliction. A fact that might make you smile if it weren't so heartbreaking. Among them, a tired-looking cat tiptoes cautiously beyond the perimeter of the flickering flames. Its green eyes glow momentarily like twin lamplights, reflecting from beneath a cloister archway. This stealthy feline might once have been an object of superstition, the potential carrier of evil, but you sense its wisdom. It seems to be watching with a judgment that suggests it understands far more than it's given credit for. The villagers might not realize that in time to come, true understanding would emerge from realms of science that would leave these bonfires a relic of curiosity. But for now, in this moment, wrapped in uncertainty and folklore, they continue. Wood smoke mixes with the earthy scent of autumn leaves, and you find yourself wandering further into their world of lore and leaps of faith. A local priest speaks in hushed tones, invoking divine protection for the efforts underway. There's a sense that any help, be it divine or luck, is welcome. It's this mixture of earnestness and desperation that speaks volumes about their place in time, a time when humans were at the mercy of the unknown. Yet you can't help but remember that history's heartbeat is constant. The wisdom of the ages rises like a distant murmur against your senses, just like the goat fat trick you heard about earlier, that seemed to make little scientific sense but lived on as common practice. Through the interplay of light and shadow, a dog barks at the edge of the square, chasing its own tail, perhaps having made peace with the chaos. The rhythmic beats of life, waiting between one pulse and the next, for understanding a bridge yet to be crossed, carries you along in this voyage through time. The warmth of the flames reflects the heat of 1,000 truths, or potentially 1,000 misconceptions. And behind it, all time weaves its invisible thread between what was known and what will be discovered, with each loop and twist made of curiosity and quiet resilience. Resigned yet hopeful, you reflect on how humanity has always found ways to create meaning amidst the flames, the shadows, and the spaces in between. While science would centuries later dispel these fiery errors with cold truths, it is in these small tales of courage and community, feeding the flames together, that you perceive the ageless dance of human endeavor. In that notion, wrapped in the comforting cover of time's quietly turning pages, you find yourself enveloped by a calm drift towards slumber, cherishing the mysteries that once burned so brightly in the night. In the warmth of a quaint farmhouse kitchen, you find yourself enveloped by the rich, comforting aroma of garlic-laced broth simmering gently on the rustic stove. The light from the flickering candles casts an inviting glow over the worn wooden table, upon which a robust bottle of strong red wine stands proud, its bouquet mingling with the scent of herbs and spices wafting from the pot. You glide through the room with a sense of calm purpose, savoring the moment as steam rises like wisps of memories from the past. The soothing crackle of the fire in the hearth accompanies the slow dance of shadows, creating a cocoon of tranquility that seems to whisper forgotten tales. This is a time steeped in old customs and long-kept secrets, where every clink of the ladle on the pot, every swirl of the wine in the glass, draws you deeper into the rhythm of an era gone by. In this serene setting, you're reminded of the times when chroniclers of history offered unusual advice. They spoke of the virtues of rich food, convinced that such indulgence could stave off the chill of the outside world. A curious notion, really, and one you'd imagine not everyone found easy to swallow. After all, who could readily accept that a hearty meal could shield you from maladies? As you sip the rich wine, its bold flavors coating your palate, another eccentric recommendation comes to mind: the ancient advice to avoid bathing. They cautioned that opening the pores might welcome unwelcome guests in the form of ailments. A peculiar belief that makes you chuckle softly as you ponder its logic or lack thereof. Historians still debate whether such guidelines were more about the scarcity of resources or the genuine belief in their protective properties. You take a moment to appreciate how these customs, baffling though they may be, paint a vivid picture of the past, a world where simplicity and superstition danced hand in hand through the days. It makes you think of how each ladle of broth and each sip of wine could have been a silent act of defiance against the unknown. The golden broth continues its gentle simmer, releasing yet more inviting aromas as you reflect on how food has long been intertwined with history. It shifted not just with the seasons, but with the tide of human wisdom or folly. This kitchen, with its fragrant embrace, suddenly feels like a portal connecting you to the people who once stood here, their lives eloquently told through the very same patterns of comfort and caution. The night unfurls around you, and you notice how the farmhouse stands as a testament to enduring traditions grounded in the land itself. Just as garlic has been revered time and again for its mystical properties, this simple farmhouse persists, its walls echoing with stories untold. You're reminded that sometimes history is as much about the little things we carry with us, the scents, the flavors, the beliefs, as it is about grand events and monumental figures. Steady on your feet, you find solace in the familiar cycle of the kitchen, carving out a moment of peace amidst the clamor of the outside world. Here, surrounded by these symbols of simple living, you savor the tangible connection to your ancestors, who, like you, now found comfort and hope in the most unassuming places. The night deepens, and as the soft murmurs of the countryside brush against the farmhouse walls, you find the burdens of the day melting away. The gentle simmer of the broth and the warming hues of the fire blend into a soothing symphony that lulls you into a tender state of relaxation. It's in these quiet moments, wrapped in the farmhouse's gentle embrace, that you realize history is alive, whispered not in pages, but in the everyday acts of care and sustenance. With a content heart, you let the warmth and the stories fill you, knowing that just as they have been shared with you tonight, they will be passed down to others like a cherished heirloom, worn yet invaluable through time. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you are tuning in from and what time it is. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Just as you adjust to this, the spectral mask a playful phantasm of protective innovation. Everything gently swirls back, centuries dropping you into the heart of the 14th century's own battle with the Black Death. There, the streets aren't much different, are they? The timeless scent of humanity's perseverance lingers even as the wind carries distant, muffled cries. Historians often ponder whether the citizens of this time had anything quite like the curious beak mask at their disposal. It seems unlikely, or perhaps merely lost to decaying parchments of defunct archives. The leap to the 17th century brought not just innovation, but a haunting sense of style to such grim times. Today, all that is left are these mysterious relics in the annals of medicine and folklore. Your feet carry you past bustling city scenes. Life goes on amid the shadows of uncertainty. A merchant offers dried herbs, the rustic scent alluring among the noise, while an attendant angles an eyebrow skeptically. This skeptic whispers of foul airs and their role in this miasmic mystery, a theory yet to find its full measure until much later. These small, unassuming objects are posed as talismans of health, pinches of concocted wisdom, wrapped in rumors rather than anticipation of any future scientific breakthrough. Cautious glances pass between those who still tread with both urgency and fear, a dance to the rhythm of mortality. Perhaps they hoped for something like your beak mask to keep them safe. Or did they lean on other intangible guardians, whispers of protection in chance, and muddled alchemical mixtures? You step quietly into a shaded alley, wondering how much protection this uncanny outfit might have offered, even if truthfully you only just borrowed it from a distant century. Still, it clings to you like a faint shadow of faith from those old times. Curiosity piques your ear as two figures discuss plagues as divine retribution versus earthly misdeeds. Such debates mirror the timeless back and forth of human wonderment and bewilderment. Indeed, historians continue to debate whether those early harbingers of dread made any concrete strides towards fighting the plague beyond survival instincts. Around you, the walls tell stories of those unwritten days, perhaps, and lead to our echoed questions on the mechanisms of disease musings, preserved in traces for future minds to ponder. Every brick stands silent witness to survival intricacies, each shadow whispering tales of hope and despair, now hidden beneath layers of time. And so, in your mind, the entire landscape hums, with lessons quiet enough to linger indefinitely, softly nudging your story further along an infinite tapestry of insights, waiting as beads of evening dew over the cobblestone. As you stroll forward, the intricate dance of the past unravels gently among the gentle glow of history, each step carrying you into the undercurrent of tonight's moonlit reverie. The wax strips slowly, each drop deliberate, as a somber steward carefully marks a cottage door with a black cross. You watch this ritual unfold, feeling an unsettling chill seep into the air. The cross stands as a silent sentinel, a stark warning to those who might wander too close. Your footsteps are muffled on the earth as you step back, knowing this ancient gesture of caution is aimed at protecting both the afflicted inside and the unsuspecting outside. You probably won't survive this if you're not careful, but that's the thrill of our journey tonight. As you take a step back, you notice wooden trays laid outside cottage doors, meals meticulously prepared yet untouched. These trays hold the modest offerings, bread perhaps a bowl of stew, left by cautious hands that scurry away quickly after fulfilling their duty. The simple food, meant to sustain the occupants of these marked homes, is part of a community's struggle to help without having to risk personal harm. It's a balance between compassion and self-preservation, a delicate act of care in a time when the threat of disease looms large. You hear whispered prayers, thin voices filtering through the haphazard slats in the cottage walls. They are quiet yet fervent, as if speaking loudly might summon the malevolent forces they are trying to ward off. The words are in a language you can barely grasp, perhaps Latin, reminding you of a time when the church held sway over daily life, and divine intervention was sought at every corner. Here the air feels heavy thick with hopes and hushed desperation mingled with the sweet scent of burning wax. In times like these, when towns grapple with illness, superstitions and religious practices blend seamlessly, historians still debate whether these rituals were more for comfort than efficacy. But tonight, you sense a kind of soothing rhythm. In the routine, the black cross, the food deliveries, the murmured supplications. Look closely and you'll observe the small details that escape casual notice, the peculiar choice of wax, perhaps from a mixture of bees and less common goat fat, which, as legend had it, offered additional protection. Should you believe it? Well, that's for history to debate. But there's no harm in a little touch of folklore on a night like this. As you stand there listening to the blend of silence and soft prayers, you can't help but feel a strange sense of calm in the midst of the chaos. It's a reminder that even in uncertain times, human beings find ways to cope, to connect, and to carry on just as we are doing tonight. Let's let the soft whisper of history wash over us and allow ourselves to imagine the lives behind those cottage doors, the stories untold, but felt in every whispered word and cautious glance. The air within the convent's infirmary carries an unusual freshness, mingling with the anticipation of stories untold. You find yourself amidst the soft rustle of habits and the quiet whispers of prayers, the aroma of mint filling the room. The nuns have strewn it generously upon the cold stone floors, an old practice believed to cleanse the air. Perhaps it's the gentle reminder of the simplicity of their world, where every small deliberate action served a greater purpose. As you step further inside, observing their duties, there's a curious essence of vinegar wafting about, seeping through cloth that lies gently over their faces. This quaint yet potent method aims to ward off the ill winds of disease, a thoughtful nod to the knowledge passed down through generations of devoted practitioners. You are ensconced in a world where survival remains a tender, hopeful endeavor, perpetually shifting between ancient remedies and cautious optimism. The nuns diligently record the recovery rates within these sacred walls. Remarkably, some convents boast slightly higher survival rates, a testament perhaps to the stricter hygiene protocols that they adhered to. Historians muse over the peculiar success of these places, an example of communal living where intention, perhaps more than technology, dictated the course of health. It was the kind of place where not just the body, but the spirit too was given careful attention, much like one might attend to a fragile bloom, nurturing it to full blossom against the odds. In the hush of the infirmary, you notice how the sunlight filters through the high arched windows, drawing patterns on the floor. It's almost as if time itself is weaving stories about these convents, where hope was sometimes just as vital as the medicine being dispensed. This cozy cocoon of care feels like a world apart, one that you sense might have outpaced its era in the simple act of placing human dignity at the forefront of healing practices. Even the nuns' attire, though humble, seems to echo their purpose. Whites and blacks woven into a tapestry of dedication. They work in quiet harmony, turning the ordinary into extraordinary with their careful ministrations. A cool hand upon a fevered brow, a whispered prayer in the dark of night, or simply sharing a moment of solace where words might fail. It's a rhythm both soothing and exacting, where every symptom is considered, and no ailment too small to merit attention. Outside these walls, the world may buzz with uncertainty, historians debating endlessly about the efficiency of such practices, how much truth lay in the rituals, and how much in the sheer power of belief. Yet while they analyze and argue, the nuns remain undisturbed, clinging to the certainty of their methods. They embody a quiet resilience, a reminder of how life often depended upon the smallest acts of care and kindness, mercurial yet profoundly impactful. As you linger in this sanctuary, consider the remarkable yet unquantifiable fidelity of those who dwell here. Could it have been their faith that sparked such successes? As the day drifts into night, you watch them continue their tender work, unheeding of any modern critique, firmly believing in the efficacy of their ancient ways. Here, amid simplicity and sincerity, the past and present intertwine, creating a place where healing is an art, molded by time and tradition, and equally by the gentle knowing hands that serve within. Amid the bittersweet symphony of life and loss, you are enfolded into the serenity, catching the gentle murmur of evening prayers, rising like a symphony of hope, a fitting lullaby to end another day. That's when you realize that, despite any scholarly arguments, this timeless dedication, this pursuit of life amidst uncertainty, is what makes this tale sing softly into the night. As the night envelops the bustling medieval town, you walk the cobbled streets beneath a sky alive with whispers of celestial wonders. Rumors of a comet slicing through the heavens spread like wildfire, igniting imaginations and sparking wonderment. The townsfolk speak in hushed tones, exchanging tales of omens and portents. As your eyes drift upward, the vast expanse of stars twinkles with a distant, unspoken promise, and you can't help but feel a pulse of excitement mixed with an age-old reverence for the mysteries above. Just beneath the surface of this excitement lurks a touch of apprehension, and among your fellow villagers, the leathery hands of the local jeweler gleefully grasp this concern as an opportunity. He's recently launched a collection of intricately designed talismans, each etched with the symbol of Jupiter, promising protection and prosperity to anyone who adorns themselves with these celestial trinkets. The logic is as old as time itself. Harness a sliver of the heavens to guard against the uncertainties of earthly life. A clever marketing ploy in its own right. Each piece is sold with the fervor of a true believer, though some might say the jeweler's faith is conveniently aligned with his purse's well-being. In the heart of the village square, astrologers gather with grim faces and furrowed brows. They crowd around parchment maps of the sky, pointing to the alignment of Saturn and Mars as the possible culprits behind the evening's tumultuous discussion. Their claims seem to hold a gravity of their own, for in these days, when celestial bodies dictate fate, the alignment is viewed with a mix of dread and fascination. Historians still debate whether people truly believe these planetary configurations could sway their destinies, or if it was a clever maneuver to maintain control over a sometimes unwieldy populace. However, not everyone is buying into the celestial hubbub. The local church authority stands stern and unswayed by the fashionably starry cures cropping up in the market. They've declared a firm position against these astrological practices, condemning them as heretical sidesteps from divine paths. Their sermons, robust and booming in the chapel's cold stone interior, insist that miracles cannot be bottled, etched, or tied on a leather string around one's neck. The priests urge their flock to remain steadfast in faith, dismissing the ancient symbols as mere superstition. As you move quietly among fellow townspeople, absorbing the myriad of thoughts and opinions, you notice that the tapestry of the night sky feels both deeply personal and universally mystifying. Each star, every tale, spun within the woods or whispered over flickering candles, weaves into a larger narrative that binds the village together. Even while skepticism simmers beneath some debates, a shared humanity stitches each individual's hopes and fears into the broader quilt of the community's psyche. Somewhere within the cacophony, a child clutches a parent's hand tightly, eyes wide and reflective under the starlight. The echoes of knowledge and mystery play, like a silent symphony weaving through the air, as sultry as the comet's whisper. It's a synchrony of cosmic wonder and earthly intrigue, turning the night into a canvas of possibility. And as you take a breath deeper than before, the cool night air fills you with the strange comfort of standing on the precipice of the unknown, beneath the same stars that have borne witness to centuries of human thought and dreams. You find a seat at a wooden bench, old and worn but firm. The texture of the wood grounds you, a stark contrast to the ethereal tales spinning overhead. This is the night in all its mysterious glory, a time for stories, for dreams, for possibilities unseen. And as the world turns under a sky alive with crackles of light and whispers of planets, you listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart, as the ancient symphony of the stars plays on. The wind threads its way through deserted market alleys, spinning cold through the spaces where bustling crowds once thrived. Now closed stalls stand in silent witness, their brightly colored awnings flapping like ghostly banners. Straw once meant to cushion fresh produce swirls in disorder, casting little eddies across the cobblestones. Above it all, a solitary bell rings out through the thick, fog-chilled air. Each somber toll marks another life lost to the relentless plague, weaving a chilling soundtrack to the daily fight for survival. Your steps echo along these cobblestones, each footfall unsettlingly loud in the quiet. The city you knew once vibrant and alive feels altered beyond recognition, stripped to the bone by the scourge, sweeping across lands, toppling the high and low alike. History is etched here in every cracked stone, in every shadowy alcove, where once children played or merchants haggled. In these trying times, scribes labor endlessly to record the names of the fallen. They are the silent sentinels of recent history, seating themselves amid stacks of parchment fingers stained with ink as they endeavor to give voice to the otherwise forgotten. It's no small task in the chaos of calamity, trying to preserve some scrap of order and kinship. How many have really passed? You might wonder, a frequent question whispered with no good answer. Historians still debate whether the records kept now will ever accurately reflect the scope of today's devastation. You pause perhaps to let the echoes catch up, perhaps to listen to the scribe's soft mutterings. They sit hunched beneath the flickering light of oil lamps, those puffs of illumination barely bright enough to keep the creeping dark at bay. Each page turned, each name jotted down, weaves another thread in the tapestry of this turbulent age. Surprisingly, amid the bleakness, you notice a stray cat slipping deftly between the shadows, as agile and unaffected as if the world had never turned its back on normalcy. Cats, it seems, retain their sovereignty even when empires rise and fall. This small beast with fur as dark as storm clouds slinks from shadow to shadow, an unwelcome reminder that life adapts, persists, whether through cunning or sheer obliviousness. Your path guides you past a memorial, a hastily erected wall etched with prayers and messages of hope. Will we endure this? The scrawl begs to know, the scribble a poignant distress call across time. The memorial is not unlike those you've heard existed in past plagues, an intersection of personal and collective grief, something tangible to clutch in the shifting sands. Historians will likely pore over these messages one day, debating their authors' fates, but for now, they are just lonely whispers on cold stones. The air is thick with the acrid scent of incense and herbs meant to purify and protect. Curious charms dangle in doorways, testament to age-old beliefs that may or may not hold any true power against what's unseen but keenly felt. Superstitions abound, offering little comfort beyond their own reassuring rituals. Yet in desperate times, these tokens clatter softly against reality, a fragile barricade against despair. Your skin tingles with the cold, a metaphorical and literal chill. Perhaps there's a measure of reassurance in acknowledging that the terror gripping the land is, as medieval records later uncovered, part of a lengthy series in the dance of human resilience. These scribes, scratching into the small hours, are part of that endless narrative, no different from those who once chronicled ancient steps toward civilization itself. They form a bridge between moments, each inscribed name, a tribute to enduring humanity. A moment finds you standing near a small casing window, once the pride and joy of a thriving baker. The glimmer of dusky light through the iron bars paints shifting patterns on the floor, a dreamy invitation to pause despite the chaos. The bell tolls again, a dutiful, solemn reminder of life's frailty. Just one more. You murmur to no one, and everyone at once a participant in this shared mourning. The stories drawn from this place will survive, clawing their way into the future, just like these resonant bells or the youthful scribe tapping the ink-dipped quill, leaving careful black trails on parchment. This moment, bleak as it is, adds weight to an accumulating saga that will one day narrate the full resilience of spirit, just as legends describe, and perhaps one day you will also become part of them, relayed around hearths or late-night whispers meant to guide young dreamers to sleep. And so you linger, whether waiting for the next bell toll or simply out of reluctant admiration for the stoic persistence of the fully masked city recorders. There's no haste, no urgency in the slow rhythm of the living, yet every action is steeped in unspoken urgency, the very essence of survival. Faces largely unseen, saving for the expressive eyes above swaths of cloth and garb. They nod to you, or was it merely a trick of the dappled light? Look, there's a notice tacked to a cellar door, faded but legible. Share what you can. A pastoral message amidst urban dreariness. Perhaps compassion, like the wind, can flow freely, even through the shut stalls and empty streets. And in this quiet hour, as you stand with the weight of history, the shadows deepen, and the evening leans into night. Somewhere, the wind eases, and the world feels as if it's holding its breath, clutching hope against inevitability, like a whispered promise or fervent prayer uttered to the soft hum of a dusk-cooled breeze. It is the night that awaits, enveloping, reassuring, while steely quills drip ink and somber bells count out the tempo of resilience. Outside the quiet town walls, as the rosy hues of dawn stretch across the sky, you find yourself standing at the edge of a trench, newly dug and shrouded in early morning mist. The earth beneath your feet feels damp tangibly, importing the night's lingering moisture. A somber air hangs thick, not unlike a soft blanket that hugs the ground, muffling the world around it into stillness. Nearby figures move with a sort of solemn efficiency, shrouded in the gentle whisper of their task. Their shovels scrape and clink against the earth's stubborn surface, creating a rhythmic song that knits the air. The grave diggers, robust and shadowed in the dim light, labor silently united by the shared understanding of their morbid duty. The sounds of their work echo, softly filling the space between chirping crickets and the early morning calls of distant birds. Among them, you notice sacks of quicklime, lined in neat rows as if part of some dreary performance. Each sack finds itself emptied with a thud into the trench, a spectral dust rising silently into the air before dissipating like ghostly whispers. Quicklime historians would nod in recognition. Here was commonly used not just for its sanitizing properties, but with a certain belief that it hastened the whole affair, respectful and humble in its simplicity. Around you, the earth is older than tales, yet here it gives way to what modernity still debates, a grim necessity, or perhaps a profound reminder of times when life was tenuous and the world less forgiving. Not every town, after all, could afford the sanctity of consecrated ground, and records quietly reveal some towns like this one simply ran out. In the silent industry of the grave diggers, you sense stories buried deeper than the graves being prepared. Each shovelful of dirt they turn over is a testament to lives once filled with their own hopes and fears, loves, and losses. A curiosity tugs at you about who these people were, the ones left to this quiet yet resolute corner of the world. There was no grand hierarchy here behind the town's walls, only the egalitarian finish that comes for all entwined with the work rendered by hands, spotted with the earthy hues of toil. The grave digger's silence is like a vigil held for those unknown and known alike, an unspoken requiem composed by those who dwell in the whispers of those gone before. Reflecting on this, you recall a tale, one that floats on the winds of history, the story of a time when a certain European town found itself mired in the grip of an unrelenting visitation of disease. So profound was the scourge that the town quite literally couldn't keep up. The holy earth meant to cradle its people lay exhausted. And here, not unlike other places, the practice of trench burials began to take hold. Necessity penned by survival rather than tradition. In all this, the surprising detail, perhaps, is not the trenches themselves, nor the quicklime with its solemn promise, but the surprising resilience of the human spirit and its resolved adaptability. Even in times of utmost despair, communities found their own way to honored farewells despite being quite pragmatic. Still, you observe the quiet toil around you, an orchestration of life, paradoxically defining itself through the lens of death. Each scoop of earth, a choreography played out under the expanse of the clearing sky. There's a silent acknowledgement in the air, held by all, marking a rhythmic understanding that carries on even as light warms the edges of the earth. Suddenly you imagine the living town beyond these walls, stirring with its own kind of dawn, a vibrant contrast to this serene rest. Streets greet the same sun with rituals of waking. The artisan begins his craft shutters open and markets murmur awake. Isolated as it may seem out here, this place of rest is interwoven with the life that buzzes within the walls. As the pale glow of the sun climbs higher, casting longer shadows behind every moving figure, you stand as witness to a moment continually unfolding a thread in the vast tapestry of existence where life and death entwine in a silent dance as ancient as the dirt beneath your feet. The story continues on, just as it always has through every age and every generation, an endless circle of renewal. The wind howls softly against the walls of your sturdy rustic shepherd's hut, perched high on the hill. Outside, the moon casts a gentle glow across the rocky landscape, muffled only by the occasional drifting clouds. You hear the soft bleating of your loyal goats, their presence as reliable as the wind that seems to never settle, offering a rhythmic soundtrack to the solitude. In this simple structure, crafted with your own hands, every crack in the wood and every creak of the beams resonates like a lullaby, your own symphony of survival. Beside you, your family sits gathered around the modest hearth. The flicker of the fire casts comforting shadows on the stone walls, the smoke curling ever so slightly into the evening air. Tonight's supper is humble, a hearty meal of barley warmed through and rich with the milk from your goats. It's a feast in its own right, a small testament to resourcefulness and persistence in this isolated pocket of existence. As you sip the milk creamy and nourishing, you reflect on the harmony of your life, here dictated by the elements and the needs of your small flock. Your goats are more than just animals. They are partners in a delicate dance of survival. Their milk sustains you, forms the base of the scarce cheese you nurture to completion. It's a crucial commodity exchanged occasionally for essential goods. Historians often debate how early pastoral societies could thrive in such isolation, and you find solace in their speculation. You've learned each animal's quirks. Each has a name known only to you and your kin, and their calls in the night are as familiar as your own heartbeats. Living on this wind-battered hill, simplicity is not just a choice, it is an unyielding reality. Here, entertainment comes not from stories spun into modern inventions of flickering lights, but from old tales passed down growing richer with each retelling. The tales of ancient shepherds, perhaps like you, who wandered the hills. There are stories of yesterday's forge where mastering the art of fire was nothing short of magic. You might even share the old fable of how the first cheese was discovered, an unexpected gift of curdling milk carried in the stomach of an old animal sacrifice, left to cook under the sun's gentle but relentless rays. It's a life where routine brings comfort, just as the constant wind seems to carry news from distant lands, from ages past, whispering the same questions to those before you. What fate might await beyond these hills? Even in your solitude, the world feels intricate and full of possibilities, perhaps much like the rolling plains on which nomadic tribes herded their own flocks centuries ago, a world of wandering yet tethered by necessity to the very creatures that provide life. Daily chores fill the time, grounding the days with practical tasks. You fetch water from the nearby stream, a rivulet threading through the hill's curves, glistening under the starlit sky. It's a routine action, yet strangely comforting, connecting you to the land in ways that have been repeated countless times by countless hands. There's a quiet resilience in such work, a thread of continuity weaving through human history. Some scholars suggest this connection to nature, the cycle of giving and taking, could be the root of early spiritual beliefs, an acknowledgement of forces greater than oneself, forces that assure survival. There's a serenity in this cyclical simplicity. Perhaps it's akin to the experience of ancient ancestors, whose whispers can be felt in the winds shaping the land and culture, as a sculptor shapes a rough stone into something enduring. Occasionally, when the skies are clear, you leave a window ajar to the elements, allowing the night's chill to mingle with the warmth of the hearth, an inviting dance of contrasts. Tonight, as the moon watches over the scene, you take a moment to listen to the light rustling of barley stalks against the wind, a comforting sound, constant yet ever-changing. Some say barley was among the first cultivated grains, a staple that not only fed bellies but fueled civilizations. Could it be that in grinding these grains, in tasting the earth transformed, you are participating in a legacy that spans millennia? Academics often muse over the precise origins of agriculture in these remote settings. It remains an intriguing mystery, one that, like a good puzzle, invites endless contemplation, yet resists definitive answers. The goats shuffle in their pens, jostling slightly. reacting to the whispers of the night. It's a dance of life that requires nothing more than presence and persistence. Sometimes you consider the theories about early domestication, how an alliance between human and animal unfolded slowly at first, each offering something the other needed. It is said the lines between necessity and friendship blurred with every generation. These animals became confidants, companions through all seasons. As the wind sings its steady tune, you're reminded of the constancy of nature and the tenacity of those who choose to coexist with unwavering resilience. Despite challenges, hope endures, much like the stars that emerge to dot the night sky, little beacons of light and continuity. Here on this windswept hill you find peace, in the knowledge of being part of something timeless, living life on the edges of the world, yet at its very heart. As the warmth of the hearth caresses your face, the soft bleats and rustles of the night assure you that all is well. The simplicity of life here isn't an absence, but a fullness filling each moment with meaning. It's a life intertwined with the earth and its rhythms eternal, like the stories told beneath these stars, ensuring that your place in the grand tapestry is as secure as the hill upon which your home stands. You close your eyes, feeling the world gently tuck you in, awaiting the dreams carried on the faithful breeze. Imagine yourself in the heart of a bustling medieval marketplace, where the air is filled with the mingling scents of spices, freshly baked bread, and the faint, slightly floral touch of lavender. It's not just in the perfumes and sachets clutched by the passing nobles. No, this lavender scent seems to linger around merchants who wander these cobbled streets, hawking their wares with a vigor that's hard to match. As you walk past their colorful stalls, you spy a merchant carefully spritzing lavender water onto sheets of parchment. The droplets sparkle momentarily before sinking into the fibrous surface, leaving a delicate aroma wafting in the air. This curious practice isn't just about aesthetics or indulgence. It's meant to cleanse correspondence in a world where every letter carries the risk of unwelcome travelers such as fleas. You see, in a time when scientific understanding was woven with as much mystery as myth, the idea that this lavender-scented water could stave off pests was both hopeful and pragmatic. Historians still debate whether the spritzing with lavender water actually reduced the transmission of fleas, those tiny hitchhikers that turn parchment into an involuntary vehicle. Some argue that the practice had more psychological than practical effects, a societal placebo of sorts, while others propose that the scent indeed had a minor repelling effect. Whatever the case, it undeniably added a layer of ritual to the simple act of sending a message. As you watch, the merchant continues his spritzing with an air of solemnity, as though each drop might protect a distant loved one from harm. You can't help but wonder what stories each page carries. Tales of trade agreements, heartwarming messages between lovers separated by distance, or even the secretive scribblings of a knight's battle strategies, all with their own invisible companions for better or worse. Yes, friends, in this medieval tapestry of humanity's earliest communications, each letter could be the beginning of epic tales or a gentle reminder of love and commitment. Dictated by tradition as much as necessity, the spritzing of correspondence becomes an art form, Like a medieval precursor to sealing with wax, its aim is to protect and preserve. You're deep in thought as you ponder the merchant's work, thinking about how, even in modern times, we seek ways to safeguard our communications. Just like encryption shields our digital messages today, lavender was once considered a talisman against nature's microscopic emissaries. The marketplace buzz continues around you, a seamless blend of conversation, laughter, and the rhythmic clatter of horse hooves. It's easy amid this cacophony to overlook how this simple marketplace is a microcosm of life itself, a place where histories interlace, where each parchment might carry its own scent and secret, dedicated to the recipient, awaiting its delivery miles away. Promptly another thought flits to your mind, a visual from earlier, perhaps, of a different corner of medieval life. This hint of lavender is not so dissimilar to how knights would use fragrant herbs like rosemary and thyme to mask the scent of their armor after days in battle. Just as merchants spritz parchment for its journey, knights would tuck herbs into the folds of their attire to steel themselves against a very different yet equally pressing concern. All these pieces come together seamlessly in the atmosphere, thriving amid the hum and vibrancy of the marketplace. And as you meander through, you might pause to consider how informal merchants, knights, scribes, and common folk all dipped into this shared pool of tradition. Each act, whether driven by necessity or the comfort of habit, weaves into the fabric of history. It envelops you just like the soft scent of lavender on a cool breeze. This moment of reflection is ever so gently interrupted by a passing traveler who catches your eye, offering a knowing nod, as though agreeing that, in this shared human endeavor, actions carry significance beyond their simplicity. The traveler shifts the worn strap of a leather satchel on their shoulder, perhaps containing correspondence, carrying the faint but distinct scent of lavender, embarking on its journey to deliver promises and greetings across lands. Thus, with each step, you thread through this market, watching more than participating. But increasingly, you see parallels to your own modern world, your own daily routines, wrapped in storied traditions with layers of meaning known only to you. The story of the spritzed parchment becomes as much yours as it was theirs. It's an echo from the past threading through the present, a gentle reminder that history isn't just something that happened, it's something that continues to happen in subtle, fragrant ways each day. And in this way, the scent of lavender bridges the gap between then and now, infusing history with a sweet, soothing note as you stride further along the path of time. As time passes, the city gates stand firm, a resolution of iron against a world that has shifted from memory into legend in the lives of its inhabitants. You feel the days blur past like threads being woven into a vast tapestry, each new sunrise, a piece of the grand design unfolding. The sound of locks clinking and hinges creaking heralds a change that promises hope and fear in equal measure. Doors open with a reluctant crack, and light spills forth into streets that have tasted too much silence. Exiting into this new world, you are part of a procession of survivors, faces marked by the pallor of too many days spent indoors. Your senses once dulled by the monotony of confined spaces now tune into vivid details, the chatter of birds resuming their dawn choruses, the whisper of the breeze through skeletal trees, and the distant hum of the marketplace regaining its rhythm. Their stories weave through the throng like tendrils of smoke, leaving traces of what had been and hopes for what might yet be. You find yourself drawn into this web of tales, sharing and receiving fragments of personal histories, your trials mirrored in the eyes of those who have walked similar paths. As you navigate the cobblestones, you notice a shift in the landscape, not just in the city, but within society itself. The buildings you once passed by without a second glance now stand vacant, a canvas, ready for new beginnings. Homes that were fortresses have become opportunities. The lockout of time and fate has reshuffled life's deck, dealing out hands of unexpected fortune and change. Where power and status once seemed unattainable, they are now graphed onto a new axis of possibility. In this transformed city, social mobility becomes tangible. Neighbors who once shared only cursory nods now find themselves placed side by side in shared ventures. The post that once denoted position simply by lineage now offers pathways open to those with the courage to step forward. Historians might say that it was during times like these that the seeds of modern urban life were sown, though they still debate the details. Was it necessity or innovation that spurred these changes? Your wager falls somewhere in the middle, acknowledging both the tyranny of circumstance and the ingenuity of human spirit. Yet all is not challenge and trial. The demand for hands to piece things back together sends the value of laborers skyrocketing, and your own talents forged in the crucible of adversity emerge as precious commodities. It's an odd sensation to realize that the very skills you honed in the struggle to survive are now your passport to prosperity. You shrug at the irony, recalling tales of how some ancient Roman workers, once beneficiaries of a similar kind of uplift, were immortalized in stone and story, their existence a testament to times when labor lifted communities. The market square becomes your eastern star, leading to new trades and possibilities. Merchants once lorded over by guild masters now jostle for the talents of skilled workers. Your work, often undervalued before, now demands respect and remuneration. In this cityscape of opportunity, you barter not just your craft, but new futures, threading possibilities through offerings of skill and experience. As you consider the evolution unfolding around you, it strikes you as an almost magical realism, a narrative echoed in the stories shared beside firelight and lamp. The whir of a loom crafting finer cloth, or the clanging of hammers forging not just metal, but a new society from iron and dreams. These sounds become the lullaby of the night's crepuscular moments. With newfound means, homes take on new decoration, the austere mirroring the opulent over time. Flashes of color and trimmings mark the gradual optimism stabilizing the heart of the city. And thus, within this mosaic of rejuvenated lives, you find yourself on the threshold of a chapter not separated by a book's spine, but flowing like the water through the springs of the surrounding hills. Before long, you ease into an understanding. Every changed face, and altered path of your fellow survivors speaks a universal truth in whispers. That resilience finds a unique song in times of calamity, bringing forth a cascading symphony of connections, a testament to the endurance and adaptability of the human condition. In this canvas, where survivors sketch hopes, your role is not limited to mere observation. You're part of a cast perpetually in motion, your actions like brushstrokes on the canvas of rebuilding. Your hands, once raised by hardship, now craft not only tangible belongings, but also forge connections. Engaging in dialogues that echo the spirit of Renaissance thinkers who believed in humanist ideals. As twilight embraces this renewed order, the softness of its hues reflects an internal peace, the kind that washes over a well-told story's end. The future poses questions, yet unasked mysteries, yet unsolved, leaving a space of serene expectation. The moon rises like an old companion, and beneath its gaze, you embrace the promise concealed in the heartbeats of the city, prepared to chart the course of a new day with the dawning light. And as you stand there witnessing this cyclical dance of history within your now open city, you are enveloped by a tranquility that assures the night will pass like a confidant, guarding your dreams until morning. The gentle patter of the evening drizzle dances upon the lead tiles of a venerable roof. Each raindrop, a tiny messenger from above, tells its ancient tale as it splashes and fades. Beneath the roof, the air is filled with the delicate tendrils of smoke curling upward from a brass censer. The smoke carries the scent of frankincense, a gift to the senses, as sweet as any night whisper. Survivors cloaked in shrouds of warmth and solace kneel on the cool stone. Their quiet thanks echo softly in the air, a gentle murmur almost indistinguishable from the whispering rain. You observe, feeling a sense of companionship in their silent gratitude, a connection to everyone who has knelt in thanks before. It's timeless. Across from you, the light of candle flames flicker and dance, revealing fleeting shadows on ancient weathered faces. The ambient sound of distant harmonious voices of a choir weaves its way into the scene, a choral embrace guiding you to the precipice of rest. These voices sing songs that have survived the ages, music performed in nearly forgotten languages. The choir's notes are high and low, a call and response that reverberates through your thoughts, inviting reflection and peace. You breathe deeply, allowing the damp coolness of the rain-tainted air to fill your lungs. Let it slow your heartbeat and clear your mind. As you settle in, the rain's rhythm becomes an accompaniment to your breath, a symphony that's been composed by the earth itself. A room much like this may have existed centuries ago. Historians have often imagined scenes of medieval gatherings, the hubbub of long-forgotten voices ringing out in unison during celebrations. It's said that such occasions have been warmed by a communal gratitude for life's small mercies, just as now, a humbling ritual for surviving another day. Those gatherings, a mixture of survival and hope, echo in the present moment. While precise details may vary, the old world language or exact arrangements, these spaces served as sanctuaries amid the chaos of life. As you drift into the evening's embrace, you ponder the undeniable truth Life was rarely safe or predictable in those times. You probably won't survive this, the medieval traveler might have thought more often than today. But this awareness of life's precariousness also infused events with a deeper gratitude, a quiet joy in each heartbeat and each breath. Let these thoughts float away like the smoke easing through the rafters. It's refreshing to breathe slow, allowing lighter thoughts to guide your rest. Imagine the distant drum of feet across the stone, the silent march towards sleep that many have taken before you. Each step taken to enter another world, one where dreams play across the screen of imagination. There's an undeniable magic in how history mingles with the present. The architecture surrounding you, crafted painstakingly over eons, whispers of techniques now long out of use, but created with unmatched skill and a deep understanding of natural materials. Imagine the profound intrigue of lead tiles, both protective and heavy guardians against rain as ancient as the era they belong to. Artisans chosen for their expertise carefully aligned each tile, perhaps placing their hopes beneath them, like a secret folded in a paper crane. Historians still debate whether this craftsmanship was born purely from necessity or if it bore an artistic significance and architectural poetry trusted to echo through time. Amidst these thoughts, you find a surprising side note that dances gently into your musings. In medieval times, cats were quite familiar companions. In these spaces believed to harness powers beyond the ordinary, a ward against evil spirits. They lurked in the shadows as much a part of the house as those who lived within. Pondering such myths brings a light-heartedness to your descent into slumber, as though somewhere in the shadows, the spirits of cats from another era doze contentedly beside you, keeping watch. Outside, the rain continues its soothing serenade. Your breathing mirrors its cadence, slow and rhythmic nature's lullaby. Despite the surreal serenity, you find comfort knowing that you are part of a long continuum of listeners drawn into such restful states by the simple sounds of weather and the knowledge of survival. Let the quiet reverence of gratitude fill the spaces within, each breath deeper than the last until you float seamlessly into a sea of tranquility. As the choir's notes align with your pulse, you're led ever further into calm, leaving the day's impetuousness far behind. Softly now, with every passing moment, let this space become yours, a domain untouchable by the worries that once spun about your day. Those worries shrink, receding into the distance and dwindling into insignificance. Soon your frame finds itself cradled in velvety dark, supported by the collective dreams of those who've sat before you. In the safety of these walls, stones turned smooth with age, whispers of countless breaths resonate where echoes are stored. This woven tapestry of history bids you rest, guided by the dulcet rain, the scent of incense, and the ethereal notes of the choir. Receding into silence, you sense an anchor that holds true despite everything. Your whisper-thin veil of thought envelops you, singing quietly the ancient lullabies woven through time. Here gently you fade into slumber, finding peace like many before, and surely those yet to come.